And I said, this is our first Jewish president. No, he's the first Jewish president to serve two not consecutive presidencies. We thank you for everything.
Yes, sir. Bad things happened on the second one. Namely, the election was rigged. Yes. And we found out, and you see that happening. But
and you are the greatest president.
Thank you.
Brendan Ecker here. Yes. So America is owned by Israel. That's pretty clear. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about that? I mean, I almost don't even know what to say. I voted for Donald Trump twice, and I was proud of that because for the same reasons we all did. Trump was a maverick. He was a resistant force to a highly tyrannical regime, which still exists. We called it the deep state. We called it the left wing, communists, the Marxists. We had all the different names for it, and it's just called the Jews now. That's the new conversation. That's the new thing you're not supposed to say. It was Black Lives Matter. It was you can't say the word vaccine. Now it's Jews. The state of Israel itself, not for purposes of hatred, but for purposes of military or geopolitical coverage, right? Let's just say you're a journalist. Let's say you're a high school teacher. Let's just say you're a college professor. Let's just say you're a parent trying to teach your children actual history. You want to teach them about the history of Jerusalem and the history of Israel, real entanglement that America and Israel has always had against one another, how America and Israel have always been set against each other since the beginning of time almost, actually, because you had the Jews and the Christians who essentially, the Christians came from Jesus Christ, obviously, the first Christian, because Christ was combating against the Pharisees, the Jewish Pharisees, but Christ himself was a practicing Jew, according to what we know. And that's the big debate. Learned that the Jewish organizations today are highly suppressive towards free speech. They're suppressive towards American values. They certainly don't care for Christians or Christianity. They don't believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. They believe that they are above God, not just that they are meant to bring God down to the earth like they say. No, they actually believe that they are God, like that they are above God, have eyes and ears just like us. They have mouths just like us. They talk just like us. They walk just like us. But they believe that they're just above us somehow. It's weird that an ethnocentricity itself can take itself and make itself God. And there's really not a religion that actually does that. Islam does that itself. Islam and Judaism are really the same thing. Conceptual foundation of the religions of Judaism and Islam are the same thing, because Islam believes in conquering by the sword and destruction by the sword. And then Judaism believes in destruction by lawfare and long-term asymmetrical warfare and very more psychological warfare, more mind games. And that's the stereotypes one could say, but no, actually, if you study military doctrine and military history, this is the facts. And then we have Christianity, which started, of course, 2,000 years ago, 2,025 years ago, when Jesus Christ was crucified. It was the Jews who condemned Christ to death, and then it was the Romans who actually did it with the hand. And the Jews love to say that the Romans killed Christ because actually, like we did by the hand, right? By the hand. But technically the Jews were the ones that called for Christ's murder. It was their decision. Ultimately, Pontius Pilate said, what would you like to do with him? He's one of your people. He is a Jew. We are Gentiles. This is your decision. And Pilate said, I wash my hands clean of this blood. So the Jews said, crucify him. We want to save Barbarus, who was a propagandist and he was a warrior. He was a berserker. That is who they protected, and they called for Jesus Christ to be crucified. That's the true history. That's the actual facts. That's what they don't want to teach you in school or even in church for that matter today. Of course, why would they? It's a highly sensitive subject. Anything you say that is against the apartheid state of Israel, you will be punished for. And they believe that that's a biblical thing, that comes from the biblical. Anybody who disrespects the state of Israel, anybody who shames the state of Israel, they will be shamed, they will be punished. And they believe that. And that's actually not in the Bible. They confuse that with the scripture, you of the people of Abraham, I will protect you, and those who harm you, Abraham, I will punish them. And that is what was said. Abraham, the people of Abraham. And really what that means veins is the blood of Christ. Jesus Christ is a descendant of Abraham. And essentially that makes all of us a descendant of Abraham who worship Jesus Christ, who accept Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior. I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. I believe those two religions should dominate the United States. That's what creates the most peaceful religion. All of these other religions, Judaism and Islam, they don't call for peace. They call to conquer nations, and if you don't agree with their religion, then they kill you, or they destroy you politically, or they assassinate your character, and they make you convert by fear. And that's the difference between that and Christianity, is where with Christianity you have the choice. You have the choice to convert. And so Islam would like to say, well, you have the choice to convert. Well, it's like, not really, because Sharia law, if that becomes a religion in our country, like it is in the UK, just because of the masses and the population and the mass migration that's happened over decades, this has caused this epidemic of the current state of affairs we have, with migration now changing the actual demographics of Europe and America. And that's a real problem. That's a real problem if you care about where you come from, your descendants, your heritage, your ancestral line. Okay? I took my DNA test just because I was so curious about it. And I looked at my DNA results, as you could see here, and it was mostly, what was it like? It was 21% Scottish, it was 17% Swedish, it was like 11% Finnish, and then there was just Irish, and the rest was Dutch, English, German, of course. And that was really it. And then a little bit of French. And that was pretty much my DNA. And so most of my DNA was Nordic, though. Most of my DNA is Scottish, Swedish, and Finnish. And then a little bit of Norway. We have a little bit of Danish. It's all Nordic when you look at it. So that's kind of my DNA test. And, I was just always, I'm proud of my ancestral heritage. And it's a shame to see Ireland and Scotland today, and they are these completely different places. They're not even the same places they used to be. They're these complete wastelands. And all of these places today where my ancestors came from are changing. They're becoming non-white countries, Somalian countries now. They're Muslim countries. They're Arabic, Pakistani, you name it, anything but European, right? Anything but Western civilization. And that is the point. And this all comes down to the Kalergi plan. If you don't understand what the Kalergi plan is, and ChatGPT or Grok AI, it's going to tell you that the Kalergi plan is this conspiracy theory, that it's not real. It's going to tell you that this was made by far-right, white supremacists, and white extremists. All of that narrative was created by the Jews who own the AI. Okay, who owns Grok? Who owns ChatGPT? You need to start thinking in terms of who owns this technology that you use every day. And I think we all know that. We all take it into consideration. But at the same time, we have to know that the very people who are controlling our means of communication, we are an occupied nation today. And if we want to have our nation back, then we're going to have to not make the same mistakes that the United Kingdom is right now, which is where they're letting their country get taken over in high mass migration rates. Not really the people, but of course their politicians are. Their politicians are, of course, over the people, and now the people have to deal with it. And so that's the big issue. And so I say this as a man who loves America. I love people, but I also say this as somebody who's intellectually honest about the Jewish question and actual history. Listen, the facts are facts. Okay, we know what the Talmud is and what the Torah believes. That's just facts. We all know that the Jews do not believe that Jesus Christ was the Messiah. And you know what? That's fine. The issue is that you're fundamentally taking over an American way of life when you try to take our religion, subvert it, and turn it into Judaism, which is where your religion doesn't believe in that same thing that we believe in. And you call it Judeo-Christianity. And this was the whole tension between Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk. And I'm not choosing a side. What happened to Charlie Kirk was evil. It was completely wrong and terrible, and that should never be done to anybody. Nobody should ever have to worry about losing their life because of an opinion they have. I would never wish that kind of harm on my own worst enemies. My worst enemies, never. Honestly, I pray for my worst enemies. Again, as a Christian, I pray for my enemies, and I don't have any hatred in my heart for anybody. I cover these topics because I think they are interesting. I think it's important, if you care about civilization and humanity, to study humanity and to study the confounds of what is right and what is wrong, the ethical dilemmas of political geopolitics, and all of the different social aspects of society, what make the world go around. If we don't have these distinctual things that are discussed freely and through free debate and conversation, then what are we? What kind of country are we when we're not able to expand our minds and our visions and our ideas? China today is building an infrastructure in their entire country that is just to the likes of which you could not imagine. Okay, they are turning deserts into farm fields. That's just something we're not doing as Americans. Okay, the Chinese students, what they're doing at like 9-10 years old in classrooms, they're learning how to put together firearms, and they're learning how to actually like understand the mechanisms of the firearm, how to fire it, but also how to use it, how to put it together, how to take it apart, the true mechanisms of it. We don't learn that in America. We're taught that guns are bad. Yeah, they're teaching you to disarm yourself. They're teaching you to take yourself out of the count. Take the Second Amendment away, so that way when your government becomes like the UK, and when they try to arrest you for a Facebook post because you agreed or disagreed with a certain person, now, well, what can you really do? Nothing, because you're not armed. So keep talking, keep tweeting, and then we'll send you to jail. And that's the thinking of these elites in the UK. And that's also the thinking of the elites in America. The moment that they get a chance to do that, they're going to do it too. That's why it needs to be called out. That's why people need to be brave enough to make these kind of videos so we can talk about these issues. You know, somebody needs to be willing to really speak out. And eventually, if one person speaks out, then another person will speak out, and then another person will speak out, and then another person will speak out. And that's the point. And so a lot of people aren't willing to speak out because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to lose whatever it is, their comfortable life that they have. But some things are just more important than ourselves. And so that's why I believe this issue is worth talking about. Not because it is this I'm not some political activist. I'm not. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an investor. That's who I am. Brendan Ecker, I'm an investor. I'm an author. I love to write. I love to research. At the end of the day, I love to build and innovate. I'm a tech nerd. I love digital marketing. I'm the CEO of Gold Shark Media AI. So I build artificial intelligence, but I also believe in regulating it. And I also believe in making sure that there's some kind of foundational level of infrastructure that makes sense for not just the average American, but also the highest IQ individuals, so we can prosper as a nation with AI. Because if we don't, another country will. And guess what? Right now, the other country that's controlling the AI is Israel. They're controlling all of it. And they're probably going to have their control over it for a long time until somebody politically is elected to end that, right along with the issue of foreign policy, right along with the issue of our politicians taking millions of dollars from AIPAC. And then now they can't even have an opinion. They got to just basically bend over for AIPAC, like Donald Trump, who's getting another $250 million from Miriam Madelson, who is, again, a big Jewish donor. If you want the truth, follow the money. And this is something one of my teachers said, and I believe that this is true. You need to follow the money. Follow where people are spending the money. Who's financing the big projects? Who's getting the big contracts? Who's getting the kickbacks? Where's the arbitrage, really, in everything? When you look through a contract or a deal, and if you were to run it through ChatGPT, and if you were to ask ChatGPT, where is the arbitrage in this deal? And that's what it's all about. That's where the politics happens. That's actually where things matter. Because the United States has the most important currency on earth. We have the reserve currency, still fighting with the euro, and then now we're fighting with the yuan. A lot of different countries believe that the yuan will be the one to take over the United States dollar. And I think the EU is pretty much done for. But I think also at the same time, there will also be a massive infrastructure with central bank digital currencies. XRP, Bitcoin, HBAR, Quant. These are big currencies that I think will make a massive difference. And they will probably change the infrastructure. They will make a lot of people very wealthy. At the end of the day, we have to understand that the United States of America, yes, we are an occupied country by the state of Israel, by the Jews. And this isn't personal. It's not anti-Semitic to say that. It's not anti-Semitic to say that there is an overrepresentation of a certain demographic of people in that White House that have a different set of ideals that do not match the fundamental constitutional ideals of the American Republic, our Christian American Republic that was founded by George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, all of these great people, John Adams, and most of them, yeah, you could argue, well, they were Freemasons, well, they were Jews too. It's like Thomas Jefferson was not a Jew. Our founding fathers were revered men because they were explorers, they were adventurers, they were brilliant, and they had great foresight, and they were great at governing because they could see how one day this American experiment, if the people were given the power, then the people could make something greater. The people could change it when it needed to be changed, that Constitution. We could change it when it needed to be changed. That's the beauty of it. We have a system that retroactively always protects itself. And you have all these governments that are banana republics. So if we have that, we lose America, we become a third world country. Well, who becomes the next leader? Well, that would be China. You could argue Marxist countries, you can argue socialist countries. They have a different set of laws than we do. This is my conversation on the Jewish question, the United States, Israel alliance, whether or not they truly are our greatest allies. I don't believe that's true. To be clear, I don't say this to be anti-Semitic or hateful in any such way. I say this as a researcher. I say this as an academic myself. I have a bachelor's degree in criminology, psychology of incarceration, marketing, forensics. I have a lot of education. I'm a very educated person. Okay, I scored very well on the Mensa, and I'll just say that. So, sorry. I like information, I like knowledge, and I also understand what the American Constitution means and the importance of speaking the truth and using your First Amendment, because if you don't use it, you will lose it. And so, when they tell you that you can't say something, learn how to say it to the camera with pride, without stuttering, and make them know what you truly mean. Because America means the First Amendment, and it means the Second Amendment. And those two things, they protect one another. Those two things must always remain. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Click like, share, subscribe. Follow me for more updates like this. Click like, share, subscribe, and follow me for more updates like this, and I'll be covering more topics overall. This episode was just on the Jewish question. Hopefully this didn't offend any Jews. We can talk about it. Let's have a debate about it. Let's see what you say. I'm here to learn. I come here as Joe Rogan. I'm just here to learn. I just want to understand people. I just want to understand the earth. I don't want to hurt anybody. So help me understand. Learn what people are truly thinking in their brain. That's the truth. That's the transcendence.